like a craft beer through a pint glass. These are the gays of our lives. A show where Lisa and Avery get out their gay decoder rings to decipher the gay alphabet and bridge the gap between the older and younger LGBTQ community and everyone fucking else. And now here are your hosts, Lisa and Avery. Don't blame them.
Hey guys, it's Lisa.
And Avery.
And today on The Gays of Our Lives,
we have the Vice President of the City Council, Zach Adamson.
yay!
Oh, hi.
Sorry, we get a little distracted because we're in our new studio and it faces the street.
Right, no, I honestly kind of dig it. And also, we've never been able to interact with the crowd before, so now we've got people.
Yeah, so that's true. So tell us, how long ago did you start on your political journey?
Well, I guess the political journey is a multi-layered path. I started getting involved in politics back in 1990 when I first moved to Indianapolis and started working on the presidential campaign. And President Clinton and Gore were running against George Bush. Then the following year in 91, the local race here with Louis Mahern running for mayor of Indianapolis. I got involved in that. He was the first candidate I'd ever heard of who actually actively campaigned in the gay community. So I got involved in that campaign. That's really what started the ball rolling, getting in the process.
Were you out back then?
Oh yeah, I came out at 14.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
wow.
yeah.
Wow. Wait. So what year was that?
Well, I'm 48 now.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to expose that.
49 in January. So
it was in the Bush era.
84, 85.
Oh wow.
Yeah, in Marion, Indiana too. So it was a small town in northern Indiana.
How was that?
That's where my fiance's from.
It was interesting. Being in a small town in general is just an interesting process. But growing up both Latino and gay in a small town in Indiana is very interesting. But because I'd come out so early, it was rough when I was younger. But as I got older, it was no longer fun to tease the gay kid because everybody knew he was gay. It's only bullies really only get a rise out of it when they know it gets a rise out of you.
Right.
So.
Well, I'm assuming it's like the comedic rules of threes apply to bullying at some point too. Like you can only go at that so many times before it's not funny anymore.
It's not funny anymore. Right?
Yeah, it's true. I get that.
Diminishing returns. That's what I really meant to say.
So you came out at 14.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, to my friends and people around me. My parents, I didn't come out until I was 17. So.
Oh, okay.
Did you ever get really that much bullying though? I mean, anything harsh?
It was pretty bad
up there?
when I was a freshman. Because then you're a freshman, and you're bullied all the time.
That's true.
Right.
So,
I mean, you could have been straight and white, and you still would have been bullied.
Yeah, for something.
Right. So freshmen are just bullied in general, but it was bad then, but it was pretty easy. Well, I had to, but still, isolation was a big issue for me. I didn't have a lot of friends that were gay. In fact, I didn't have any gay friends here, but I did have a theater coach who let me know that Indianapolis had a youth group here. Back then it was called the Indianapolis Youth Group.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And so at 16, when I got a driver's license, I started driving from Marion to Indianapolis.
To go to youth group.
Go to youth group.
Yeah,
there,
IYG is
often,
amazing.
Yeah, so often that I ended up getting a job here. So I would go to school all day and get out at 3:30 and then drive my car from Marion to Indianapolis, 70 miles.
Oh my God.
I'd work at that job from 5 until 9:30, telemarketing. And I'd leave there and then meet my other gay friends here in Indianapolis and then drive back home around 2 or 3 in the morning and do it again the next day.
Wow.
What were you doing with your gay friends then, that late at night?
Well, just whatever, gay kids would do. And back then we didn't have anywhere to go, so a lot of times we were hanging out on St. Clair Street or...
was the Abbey not around back then?
The Abbey wasn't around for several years later, but eventually...
I knew it came around a long time ago, but...
But that was still the 90s.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Not the 80s.
I was thinking it was late 80s, but
Well, I honestly didn't even know Indiana Youth Group was available that long ago.
Yeah.
I
Chris
was surprised.
Gonzalez, right?
Yeah, it was the first place the youth group met was in his living room. And we met there for a number of years and then moved over to the Damien Center, which at that time was on Pennsylvania Street. And so they were located there for years, and then it was a long time before they even got their first location.
Yeah.
I mean, they have grown leaps and bounds compared to what they were for sure.
Well, and it's so cool what they do now and how many like branches they really reach of the alphabet. It's really crazy.
Well, yeah, I was the first youth member on the board of directors there. So when they first started allowing youth members to hold positions on the board, I was the very first one that did that. And I founded the Pen Pal Network. And at that time, there was really no internet to speak of. So the only way that you could connect with other people was through, snail mail. So you
Yeah.
could write letters. We started getting, mostly in Indiana, trying to connect small town kids who were coming out with kids in a bigger city or other kids in other small cities so they could share their coming out process with each other. Just so you have that outlet and reduce that isolation, which was a big thing for kids in small towns. And then we started getting them from other states. I started getting from Idaho or, the Dakotas and things like that. So we started having to find more people to reach out to. Then we started getting them from Canada, and then we started getting them from various other places in Europe. And then we started getting them from Russia. And so we had to start finding ways to connect these kids with other kids all over the country, all over the world. And that's when I aged out.
So
YYG.
you were on the board back then, so
That was-
being on boards is something you kind of been prone to since you were young.
Yeah, well, I think that IYG really sort of laid the groundwork for just social activism in general. One of the very first things we did back in the early 90s was they had taken a group of this. Remember, this is just coming out of the 80s, the height of the AIDS crisis. So they really wanted gay kids to not only be educated on safe sex and transmission and things like that, but they wanted us to become activists for funding and eventually to find a cure.
Yeah.
So they sent us on a trip from Indianapolis to Washington, D.C. to
I think I remember that.
to go to what was called the Gay Men's Health Crisis then. So it was a huge conference, an international event. The very first thing we did when we landed, we drove to D.C., was a protest rally at the Senate building. That very day we got there. And back then it was the Mapplethorpe exhibit, if you remember that. An artist, photographer from Ohio, I think Cincinnati, had done some very homoerotic art in photography. And then Jesse Helms at that time had discovered that Mapplethorpe had gotten funding from the NEA, National Endowment for the Arts, and was trying to pull all the funding from the NEA and prevent them from ever giving money to LGBT artists at the time.
Wow.
Because they didn't want public dollars to go for homo art. So we did this huge protest outside the Senate building on censorship of the NEA. Because that was really cutting my teeth on social activism back then. I was probably not even 19 then.
So was that really like what gave you like that interest to get involved with like the political campaigns and all that? Or?
I think it was really what prepared me for it. It didn't really get me involved in the political aspect so much as just preparing and laying the groundwork.
And gave you the taste of it.
Right.
Now, I went to the March on Washington, and I think that was 2000,
Yeah.
wasn't it?
And those
That
kind of
was-
things weren't happening like that when I was that age. But it's amazing to watch where things have progressed. And you see them in other countries. They've been doing this for
huge.
years. There's
Yeah.
huge
Yeah.
marches like this. But it's interesting to watch the United States sort of take that on.
And like honestly catch up a little bit. I mean, not in all places, unfortunately, but like you really do see a much stronger. Well, you see stronger activism really kind of all over, not just LGBT, but that Women's Day, for instance, and that wasn't even just
Right.
women there. You had like just people who brought their families.
Yeah.
Just to,
Well, I couldn't go to the march in D.C., but we went to the Women's March here.
yeah.
So they were, not only in D.C., but just all over
Oh,
the
yeah.
Oh
country.
yeah, and all those
All over
photos
the
of
world,
the
actually,
cities.
yeah.
Oh my gosh, that was one of the most incredible things I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's amazing. And I guess that can be one of the positive things to come out of the last, I don't know how many years, is just that it's sort of awakened the social activism of the population at large and watching people sort of push back and resist.
Oh yeah.
And
I
come
think it's a-
together.
And come together, right.
For
I mean,
sure.
that's the important thing, for sure. No, going back to IYG, they are incredible. We actually have a link to them on our website because they do so much for so many people. Do you still work with them some?
Not as much as I'd like to. Obviously, time is a real
sure.
challenge for
Yeah.
me. The council takes about 25 to 30 hours a week, plus we're all only part-time employees, so we all have full-time jobs as well. So and in addition to really that kind of job, it's just hard. And I do try to get involved with as many different not-for-profit organizations, but most of them are community-based now rather than just LGBT.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
That's awesome. So then. So see, and then we went back to IYG, and I was totally going in a different direction.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're okay. I just like I hate it when I do that. Oh, okay. So so then like present day, you're on city council. Do your parents still live up Marion? Or?
My mom still has a house in Marion, but she lives part-time. She goes in the wintertime. She goes down to Alabama. She's got a house down there,
Little
too.
snowbird.
That's smart.
Gotcha.
Smart lady.
Yeah, she doesn't like to shovel snow.
No,
so she goes out
this
there.
cold.
don't
This
either.
cold is gonna
Jeez.
kill me.
So, and I'm assuming like your family is all great with
Yeah,
you now.
I have a
and-
great family. Yeah,
That's
I'm very
awesome.
fortunate. When I came out to my family at large, I was really nervous about it. But the relationship between my mother and I really didn't get to be where it is now, where we're really close until I came out of the closet. We used to fight like cats and dogs, and I think it was because I was so independent and didn't feel that connection, and she didn't have the opportunity to be really maternal with me because I was so independent, and really didn't build that need base between us until that coming out process.
Oh, okay. Honestly, a similar thing happened with me and my mom, and I always thought it was just because, like, I honestly couldn't be my full, honest self and ask for what I needed really at a time.
Yeah.
So.
You guys are just now coming.
Yeah,
Full circle.
the road's gonna be rough for a little bit, but we're doing a lot better for sure.
I think
For
being
sure.
everything being in the media is really helping a lot of people.
I think
Oh,
so.
yeah.
And I remember one of the things that we learned at the Gay Men's Health Crisis at that event in D.C. in the 80s, they were still talking about how does the gay community get to the place where we can start to move the needle on equality issues.
Mm-hmm.
At that time, it was never imagined that we'd have marriage or any
Oh,
of the other
yeah.
things that we
Yeah.
have today. We just didn't want to be hunted down. We didn't want to be, come after us, like they do. And they said the number one best thing that we can do is to come out of the closet, to come out and give people the chance to represent themselves instead of allowing the right wing to describe who you were to people who'd never met you.
Mm-hmm.
As long as you're allowing someone else to define you, they can create whatever they want.
Oh yeah.
But it's harder for people to make you a phantom menace if they know you.
Absolutely.
They find out that they're doctor, they're lawyers, but
Yeah.
they're family members, their kids, their aunts, their uncles, their mothers and fathers. Find out that they're also gays and lesbians and transgender folks. It's harder to create that phantom menace. And
Yeah.
so as soon as people started coming out of the closet, it was the coming out process that changed the dynamic of the whole process.
It's funny, nobody told me that, but I've just always been out. My mom was always so worried back then because it was 89 when I came
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
And she was so worried. And I said, Mom, these people like me, and if they get to know me and they like me and they find out I'm gay and they're like, oh, they're not all like the ones on Jerry Springer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they're not all bad. And
Well, I'd have to have
I
that
said, I think it's changing people's
Were there a
minds
lot of
when they get to
lesbians
know
on
you.
Jerry Springer?
Oh, just
I didn't watch
Right,
enough.
right.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, back then when we used to have Pride on the Circle, it was a very small,
Oh, yeah.
tiny little event. And I had friends who would say, you know what, I'm not going down there. It was mostly just, drag queens and leather daddies and assless chaps and things like that. And I just don't want to be known in that community. I said, well, as long as you allow them to represent you,
that's what it's
all
going to
anyone
be.
will ever know.
Yeah.
And so if you want people to see a different side of the gay community, you have to stop living in the shadows. You have to go out and be the
absolutely true.
representation of the community that you want people to know.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's you they need to know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you
no.
put a face on a monster, you know what I mean? It's a lot harder to be
It's a
scared
lot
of
less
it.
threatening.
Yeah.
And I think
It's
ultimately
true.
that's how it all changed.
It's true.
Yeah.
I didn't think about it that way, but you
Mhm.
are absolutely right. And now people come out when they're, well, you were 14, you were young, but
Yeah.
I mean, I have a friend whose daughter came out at 9.
Yeah.
And I'm
we're
just
seeing,
like,
seeing kids that are
what?
identifying as transgender kids and they're
At 5.
5 and 6 years old. you
that
know?
just blows my mind because I would never have been able to put it in words of what was different about me back then. And now it's out there so people know what's different about them.
Mhm. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That helps.
But when you really think about it, it's like you know yourself at an early age. I knew I wanted to be a boy at an early age, but I was just
Well,
told
yeah.
that that's not a real thing. So then I was like, well, I guess I have to get over that dream, you know what I mean? And then all of a sudden this transgender word comes around when I'm a teenager, and I'm like,
Hey, it is a thing.
right?
Yeah.
I'm like,
You
I
were wrong.
could do that.
It is a thing.
Right?
Yeah.
Somebody
Yeah.
lied to me.
That's just how I felt.
But no, and again, that's all they knew also. So it was
Yeah.
just not something that people understood. And we're still trying to figure out
Yeah.
get our brains around
Oh
this,
yeah.
you know?
Well, because now it's a gray area. You know, we were talking about a bit before the show. You know, it used to be very black and white.
It was.
And cookie cutter for people, so you could know things. But the fact is doing this whole gray brush is really, messing with people.
Well, and to the point, too, society has evolved now. I remember when I ran in 2011, I ran for an at-large council seat. This is the whole county. It was the first, openly gay elected official in the state. Now, when I say that, I say openly gay. We ran a campaign completely out of the closet. My partner at the time was with me every step of the way, side by side. and we ran a campaign in capital city, countywide race, and came in 3rd of 12, and we needed to come in 4th or better.
Wow.
And so it was a really big deal, but nobody thought it would be possible in 2011. At that time, Kentucky had 7 openly gay elected officials. So we thought it's well past time in Indiana.
Yeah.
We have at least one.
Oh yeah.
Right.
And so when we
Can't
won
let
that
Kentucky
race,
beat us.
most people thought it wasn't possible. And skip forward to 2019.
Oh my God,
and we
how
just
many of 'em are
elected
there?
3 more in Indianapolis. So
Yeah.
now there are 4 openly LGBT people going to the city council starting in January.
That's awesome.
Oh, just city council, and then our state house. That's
Well, I think we
A
still only
bunch.
have only one
one.
openly gay.
I thought
But-
there were more this time.
But we did, I say we, like I had something to do with it. Indiana,
Yeah.
we as a Hoosier state,
Yeah.
Indiana, Greenfield, Indiana, elected a trans
Okay,
member,
okay, there we go.
trans member of their
I
city
thought there
council.
was a trans.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Greenfield, yeah.
That's
it's
really
pretty
Which is
cool.
weird
yeah.
for Greenfield of all places to do it first.
Sure.
I hate to be like that, but
Well, I mean, but
Well-
honestly, anywhere outside of Indianapolis, I would say that's weird.
Right,
I really
right.
would.
It is, but I think we're seeing the time is really right for people
I think
to,
it's
to
great.
stop looking at labels only and asking themselves, can this person, improve the quality of life for people in our community, regardless of what their label is or who they
Right.
identify as.
Absolutely.
so your opinion on Mayor Pete?
I'm a huge fan.
Well,
I'm a
I figured.
huge Mayor Pete fan. Yeah,
I figured.
and I think that as time goes by, he's not the only one I'm a big fan of. I love Elizabeth Warren. I love Bernie Sanders. I was a Bernie Sanders delegate to 2016 National Convention. I was a Hillary delegate to the convention before that. But it's been an exciting process to watch an openly gay person run, especially one the caliber of Pete Buttigieg.
Oh, God.
He's a Rhodes Scholar. He's an Army veteran, just so well-rounded
Oh, yeah.
in so many different ways. And so it's been exciting to watch this process as people get to know him. And that's all we've ever said is to just give him a chance. Give him a chance to talk to him, listen to him, and we think he'll win you over. And as that's happened, it's exactly what people have done.
Oh,
and
yeah.
he's polling number 1 in Iowa right now.
Is he in
Yeah, he was
Iowa?
number 3 last week. This week he's number 1.
Oh, that's
So
awesome.
That's-
the,
yeah,
the problem
that's
is,
huge.
though, is when you're number 1, you only got one way to go, one direction to go.
That's
so
true.
It makes me nervous when he's number 1 this early. So I'd like to see him number 1 maybe the week or two before the election.
Right.
So
Well, and obviously those numbers move around a lot throughout an election, but when you really think about it, he's also been one who's really only been building from when he started.
yeah.
Because at first my dad was like, "Oh, your boy's not polling very high," because he was my boy, but now he's our boy because
Yeah.
he's polling very high.
Right.
Well, a lot
Takes
of
a little
people.
ownership, yeah.
Well, a lot of the cisgender straight people that I've said something about it, and they're like, or I wear my Mayor Pete shirt, they're like, "Oh, you just like him because he's gay." And I said, honestly, I looked at him at first because he's gay.
No, I love him because he's gay. I liked him beforehand. So,
Right.
I mean, I've known Pete before he came out of the closet. When he ran for mayor, the same year I ran for city council,
Okay.
but he wasn't out of the closet. So I loved him then. I knew he was
Yeah.
right. He had run for state treasurer the year before. So in 2010, he ran for state treasurer. 2011, he ran for mayor of South Bend and won that year. And it wasn't until 2015, when he was running for re-election, that he came out of the closet. So I was a Pete fan, in 2010. I was working on his campaign then.
Oh, wow.
So it's kind of exciting to watch this process unfold for him.
Well, like
Yeah.
for me though, I just heard of him. That was the first I'd heard of him, and I was like, "Oh, he's gay. I'm gonna check him out and see." And I'm like, "He's never gonna get elected because he's gay," And then I was like, "Wow!" I was way impressed by him.
Yeah, and I've
I mean,
talked to a
he's-
lot of older conservatives, people who are conservative, who says, if you guys send Pete Buttigieg, I will vote for him.
Oh yeah,
That's
absolutely.
what my dad has said. I
Yeah.
mean, and he's genuinely. I mean, until Trump became a thing, he had always voted on a split ticket, but Republican president. But then Trump came around, and then he's like, well, that's not gonna happen.
Some of the
That's good to
people
hear,
I
too.
respect the most that are cisgender, straight as can be, but are big business people type things or very important people, are all about him. And I would think they would be more Republican because of money.
Sure.
And they're all, and it makes me smile.
Yeah.
One of them's the one that actually, she went to one of his rallies and got me a shirt, and
Nice.
everything. But
Yeah.
no, I think it's not the gay thing that he wouldn't get elected because of, it's more of his age.
Well, you know what? They're finding out that actually as many senior citizens like him for president as people his age.
Really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And they did polling data for his run for mayor and found the same thing. It was actually the majority of people that supported him for mayor were the senior class.
Wow.
Were the seniors.
And it's funny because I wonder if that is also because him and his husband are very like publicly very kind of conservative, really, when you think about like, you know, what people think of the gay lifestyle, if you will. And then you look at that, and they're just, I don't know. Even my fiance she was looking at like they took a picture somewhere and it looked like really pretty in autumn. She's like, it looks like they're taking Christmas card photos, not political photos.
They
I'm
look like that every time they're together.
I know.
They're like they are like the ideal couple.
They look
too.
like they just walked out of their library.
It's almost
and
like
took a dog on a walk.
Right.
It's like they're too fake. They're too perfect.
Yeah.
God.
Handicap rescue dogs. You know,
Right. Oh my gosh. Right. And then it's like, how much cuter does that get? And it's this big, of
Right,
course.
Yeah.
It's got one
Right.
eye,
Right.
yeah.
The only thing that's missing is like wheels for back legs. You know.
Right, exactly. He's got so many amazing things going for him. It's been exciting to watch, and to watch the voting bodies just sort of evolve to say, hey, yeah, this could work for me. This could work, and it's catching. So it's very exciting.
I love it. I mean, it's an exciting time.
Yeah.
So dating and being gay in the face of like of politics, how complicated is that to kind of be able to juggle that with like, because you are obviously doing the public personification, you have to decide how much you really share, and you know, and so yeah, like what is that like for you?
Well, it's been complicated because I didn't really get into public life until I got elected in 2011. At that time, I had been in a relationship for 8 or 9 years. So, and that recently ended. So now this is my third election, successful campaign, I might add.
Hey.
So this is my third one, but the first one I've ever had to run as a single person. So now, for the first time in 14 years, I'm having to re-enter a dating scene that is nothing like it was
Right?
14 years ago.
No.
I'm completely unfamiliar with.
Scary.
Right.
And the rules have changed because of the position that I have. So I can't do a lot of the things that are the way things are done now. So a lot of the social networking apps and things that are primarily hookup sites are a lot different for me than they are for other people, because I can't do the same kind of personal promotions
Right.
that I would say a lot of other people are able to do.
Right.
So
And
I
that
have
makes
to be
sense.
A lot different. And so meeting people is a lot more complicated. And since there aren't places for me to go in a social aspect anymore, it's really hard.
Yeah, well, and then
That
I mean,
makes
I'm sure it's
sense.
hard to decide like when to drop that veil for yourself with that person, because I imagine because again, you can only give so much of yourself.
Well, and I mean, you have to have that talk with them. Hey, or if they don't know that you're in the public eye and everything, do you have to have that talk with them of, hey, this is
guy in
who I
Indianapolis is
am?
definitely gonna know Zach
Well,
Adamson.
you would think, but I mean, do you ever have to have that talk of, this is, I'm in the public eye, so unfortunately,
I've had to have that conversation a couple of times, but most people, like you
Well,
said,
most know,
they
yeah.
know who I am. But I think that's also a handicap as well, because people find me unapproachable because of that.
Oh.
And I'm
Yep.
like, I'd like to go on a date too.
Yeah,
I do
go
date.
ahead and approach
Yeah.
me. It's all right. Yeah.
I understand that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Well,
so. Yeah.
And so then, so then right now I know you're currently seeing somebody, and because we were talking about you learning Portuguese, which I love, but I guess so in that scenario, God, I had a place where this was going. So dating him, was there a point where you sat down and you're like, I don't know, like, do you share stuff on social media then? Like, are you guys able to do that
absolutely.
comfortably?
And in fact, I have a very strong presence on social media, and so I always have. So when I was married, our personal life was very public.
Okay.
So we've never held back on anything like that. I don't publish as much about the two of us, only because I think he's nervous about that more than because of anything that I'm doing. I would like to be more out in the open on things like that. And to be clear, we just got to the point where we've only known each other for 3 months. So I hesitate to label anything right now either.
Yeah.
But I think he's more concerned about the perception of things being something that they're not, or something like that. So
well, and then on top of that too, like you did run to be in the public eye, and public eye, and then
I'm not uncomfortable sharing. And we ran open, so my deepest, darkest secrets are already out there. So I don't have to.
That's almost relieving.
Well, maybe not all of them.
There's some stuff in the closet still.
Yeah, the things most of the things that people worry about are pretty open for me. So I don't have a very wide threshold on things that I can't do.
As Dana Black said, the only room in her closet was for her shoes. So
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I totally forgot about that. Was a really good quote from her too.
Yeah.
I love that. You've met Dana Black.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Of
I was
course.
gonna say.
Of course.
I was gonna say, we've
I'm
talked
sure
about-
you know who she is. Yeah.
Yeah, Dana and I are on the Stonewall Democrats board together.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hey guys, it's Lisa with The Gaze of Our Lives, and this week's episode is sponsored by my own CBD line through Denver CBD. It's actually the first one in town here that has vitamin D in it, and it's also helping with different causes. The strawberry flavor, 5% goes to cancer support community. The orange flavor, 5% goes to the National MS Society. Use my code LISA20 and get 20% off your order. So, I forgot to say, congratulations on winning the election.
Thank you.
Just
Thank you. Yeah, it's
2
my
weeks
third
ago,
one.
right?
Yeah.
Your
Absolutely.
third one?
My third election. Yeah.
How many opponents did you beat, or how many were running against
There
you?
were 4 people running in the District 17 race, which is the race that I was in. So myself and 3 others.
Wow.
And was that like a landslide vote for you then? Or?
Kinda.
Yeah?
79% of the vote. Which
No, that sounds like a landslide to me.
With
Yeah.
4 opponents, you got 79.
3 opponents.
Or
So
3
myself,
opponents,
yeah.
4 of you, you got 79% of all the votes.
Yeah, I was a little disappointed because I got 85% last time. So
Well, how many opponents were you against last time?
just one.
Oh, well,
One
Yeah.
others.
Well, I'm just saying split voting and all that. Honestly, with local elections, there were so many more people who turned out to vote this time. I feel like that puts it more in numbers for you too.
Yeah, I
right?
think so. Well, but and it's harder to get a higher percentage when the numbers get higher. So,
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
so you are the vice president of the City County Council.
Right.
In next election, is that going for the president?
No,
I don't know how that works.
No, I'm very happy as vice president. I think it suits me a little more.
Okay.
Yeah.
The president's job is very difficult, very complicated, very demanding. And the president's doing a great job. Vop Osley is a good friend of mine. He's done a great job. We have a great majority leader, Councilor Maggie Lewis. She's amazing. And we have a great team of Democrats on the council that we'll be working with. There are 5 Republicans on the council also that I look forward to working with. It'll be interesting to see. I do kind of chuckle just saying 5 Republicans and 20 Democrats. So,
Right.
and keeping in mind that the map that we used to run this election were drawn by the Republicans. So
I was gonna say because
Yeah.
like usually they're especially because they have the House majority or they had right.
no, they still do.
Okay. I was gonna
Yeah.
say because I didn't check
But
all
the-
of that.
Yeah, but the
after,
city council draws their own maps, but these maps were drawn the year the Democrats won in 2011, and the Republicans, they lost control in 2011, and then they redrew the maps to give themselves an advantage in 2015,
Right.
which we beat them then too.
That's awesome. I hate gerrymandering.
Yeah.
So are there certain terms, how many terms you can do in City County Council?
No, we don't have term limits.
So you can
in
do
Indiana,
this
yeah.
for
There are
infinite.
only term limits in a couple of offices, statewide, and they are usually offices that are mandated through the Constitution. So things like sheriff can only run so many times because that's a constitutional office.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of what the other ones are. I think
Like judge with that.
no, judges can run as often as they want.
Yeah, I was going to say judges can't.
I think maybe treasurer
Okay.
is also mandated by the Constitution, so it's term limited. You can only run twice.
Because I knew there were some that like that. Now, so do you just plan on doing this? I mean, is this what you want to do in politics?
Well, I had never really planned on running for office at all. So my background, when I bought my house in 2001, I got involved in my community organizations. I served on the board for the Near East Side Community Organization for about 15 years. Served on the board for Riley Area Development Corporation. Worked mostly with affordable housing, community development, kind of things like that. So I've spent, before I went on the council, a good 10 years just doing community development, things for my community. The work I do now isn't that different. So
Yeah.
when we were discussing in 2009 is actually when we started talking about Indiana not having any openly gay elected officials and Kentucky having 7.
Yeah.
We started to look for openly gay people who'd be willing to run for office. And honestly, we looked at every, remember this was for a countywide office, so it had to be somebody that had both the time and the inclination and the ability to run and maybe fund
Yeah.
a countywide race, which could be, in the tens and tens of thousands of dollars to run. It ended up costing me $70,000 to run.
Whoa.
that I had to raise money for.
Wow.
And sadly, this is one of the really sad things about the gay community here. Out of the $70,000 that I raised for the at-large race, maybe only about 5 came from the gay community.
Wow.
Yeah.
That doesn't actually surprise me.
Could not get the gay community to get behind this race at all. And still to this day, there's a shortage of support for openly gay elected officials in the gay community. Maybe it's just Indianapolis. I don't know if it's like that in other cities.
I almost wonder if that's from lack of education, like knowing that it's there, or
No,
like.
when I ran in 2011, we made every effort to make sure that everybody knew that there was a gay person running. And so, every newspaper had it on the cover. The Star had it on the cover. The Indianapolis Monthly did a huge spread. The gay newspapers covered it 3 or 4 times. There was no real way that anybody could say they didn't know.
Yeah.
Know how to, maybe? You know what I mean? Because I don't think because there weren't a lot of gays in politics. Growing up, my dad was in politics. And, I only know what he did. And I only know it because he was in it. But I don't think a lot of people would know, unless you have a fundraiser that they happen to be at, know how to give money, if that makes sense.
Well, we tried to hold as many events that we could in the gay community, thinking that, and it's true that the gay community does have a large disposable income. We often don't have kids.
Yeah.
We don't have to worry about a lot of things. We have that income that we're able to use a little more liberally than our heterosexual counterparts primarily.
Yeah.
So we thought that we'd be able to do a lot better in the gay community than we did.
I'm honestly, I know you're not surprised, but I am.
But that's not just been with my race. There have been
Yeah.
other LGBT candidates who have run who said the same thing. So
It's sad.
It is sad.
That's genuinely that hurts me because really I'm up in Fisher, so there's only so much opportunity.
Well, Fisher's got a Democrat on the city council too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do. And the only reason I know that is because for once I'm going to follow my local, because I lived in Carmel for a long time.
Yeah.
And I just I didn't feel like my vote counted there because I'm surrounded.
Yeah.
But in Fisher's you kind of I don't know if you feel the heat in the race there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I liked it.
Yeah. It's great to see the needle move even in cities around the donut area.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh,
You looked like you wanted to say something.
No, I
so
thought you were still going to go. I was just
No.
looking to see what was next.
No, I was just listening.
No.
Sorry.
I think this is great that we have so many openly gay people. And it's not that, you have to be gay to win or anything like that. People are always like, well, I don't care. Why do you have to say? Because we have to say.
Well, and this is one of the things that I talked to people that I know in my circles who have said the same thing about Pete Buttigieg. Why does it matter he's gay? Why do you guys have to talk about that all the time? And said, well, it doesn't have any real reason or any bearing on his ability to be commander-in-chief of the United States. But until now, it's always been a disqualifier. So it's important to establish, not just for you, maybe it doesn't matter, but for the gay kid who's watching from Marion, Indiana, to know that the dreams and aspirations that every kid has are open to them too. And so when they say one day you'll grow up to be president, if you're a small gay kid, you're thinking, well, maybe not me.
Right.
And even African American kids. How many African American kids grow up thinking that the opportunities that are available to every kid are not open to them? And so these kind of things matter as far as breaking down prejudice, breaking down stereotypes, breaking down internalized barriers that people set for themselves based on those kind of things. So it's important. It's important to make those things known.
And it's in everything now. Any type of career or entertainment. It's just ridiculous. And Ryan Murphy. Do you know him? He's from Indy.
I don't know him, but I'm a big fan.
I used to fight Krav Maga with his brother. That's the only reason I know he's from, I think, North Central High School. So I didn't know if you
you're right. Yeah,
knew him. But in the moves that he's making in the entertainment industry with the trans community especially, he's doing.
Oh gosh, yeah, he's done a ton.
And I think.
Oh my God, Pose. Sorry.
Pose. Oh my God.
Oh my God, Pose. Oh my God, Pose. Right, just thinking about it, and I love Billy Porter.
Oh my God.
I love Billy Porter so much.
Everything about that, I just get so excited waiting for that show to come back on.
I know, well, because there has yet to be an episode where it hasn't changed my thinking on something, and I love that. And honestly, and just to kind of tie it back to what we were talking about, it is truly taking control of a narrative.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? It's exactly why you have to come out.
again, what we talked about earlier, it is giving that human face to issues that people may not be familiar with. And things that people are not familiar with have a tendency to have negative stigma, negative stereotypes attached to them, and there's nothing to dispel them. They're gonna run amok. And so that's why these kind of public faces of all these things is so important.
Yeah,
I'm just such a big fan of Ryan Murphy and all his work.
Well, I just love that it's in every place that a kid could want to be in their what they want to be.
Right.
You know, that there's representation in it
Right.
now,
I
and
mean-
that openly you can see it.
Even like, because I mean, he's even been covering the trans thing back with Glee,
Mm-hmm.
because they had that character, and that was one of those. That was the first time I had seen it. I don't know if that's the first, but that's the first time I had seen a trans character on TV be something bigger than a side option. Like,
Well, if you remember, think back to when we really started seeing LGBT people portrayed in positive ways. Because back in the 80s and late 70s, early 80s, there were gay people in shows. You know, you've got Are You Being Served? You've got, remember Billy Crystal's role on Soap? You've got Uncle Arthur on Bewitched. And so when I talk about...
I forgot about Uncle
Yeah.
Arthur.
So you've got all these guys. So people say, growing up gay is so easy. And I say, well, when I was growing up, the only role models we had were Billy Crystal on Soap and
Right.
Uncle Arthur on Bewitched. And these are not role models. Again,
Yeah.
if you think that this is what gay people are, you're like, that is not who I am. Not that there's anything wrong with it.
No.
That's just not who I see when I look in the mirror. And that matters. And so it wasn't until, what was that show? The one that came after 90210, Melrose Place.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
You remember Melrose Place?
Yeah.
And they had the gay guy on that show. And it was, everybody loved the gay guy. But the one thing that we all noticed, and this was a process, and I think that this is how movies or shows sort of evolve, easing the public into this concept that gay people are just normal, everyday people. But everybody on that show was getting laid, right? Except the gay guy. Which is like so bizarre. He never had
Didn't even think about that.
He
Any
was
type
the
of
only
interaction.
one who wasn't getting any action. And so
And he didn't, and it was never like an issue or brought up.
it was never
He
brought
was
up.
just not dating. He was just gay, but it didn't, but it wasn't really encountered.
Well, he would have encounters and things, and you would see them sort of start something, but you'd never see him have the same kind of hot and heavy
Yeah.
episodes
You're right.
that all the heterosexual counterparts would have. But that sort of broke down the barrier that we could see gay people in a positive way, that they were just normal people living everyday lives, and it wasn't. And then you had Queer Eye for the Straight Guy, and then you had
Will and Grace.
Will and Grace. You had
Will and Grace. Ellen.
what was
Oh,
Ellen.
yeah, Ellen.
Yeah, of
it just
course,
feels
Ellen.
weird to not say it.
Yeah, of course, Ellen, because
I mean,
she
she
puts
lost
that human
everything.
face, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
She lost everything and then
what was that other one?
gained
Oh.
so much more.
What was that? That other one that had the 5 gay guys that were
Queer as Folk?
Queer as Folk.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Queer as
and
Folk.
L
I just
Word?
met Hal
The L
Sparks.
Word,
Yeah.
yeah. And so you have all these shows that are very mainstream that are helping break down those barriers, and it all has an impact on that.
It's
Okay.
true.
Fair.
You know, the L Word was the first time I had ever seen a kind of a trans woman or a trans man, excuse me.
Max.
Max,
Yeah.
yes, thank you. I was
Yeah,
trying to
and-
remember.
and to be
The
fair-
first time I had ever really seen that, and I was so
I
confused by
watched
it.
L Word late in life, and I didn't know about Max until I had already started kind of having like these I'm just gonna try and be.
Because this was
trans.
early 2000s.
And but to be fair, like I mean that was 2009, 2008 when it actually came out, because it was 2015 when
Was
I
it?
saw it.
I don't know. It was pretty early 2000s, though.
I'm just thinking it was definitely a long time ago, but like you're right. And then even music, I feel like music now is
My friend
is
Jim.
making a curve.
Jim was my treasurer. Jim Moore, can you hear me? Jim was my treasurer on my first campaign. He's like, "Where's that voice?"
Hi,
coming
Jim.
Yeah, he's funny. Sorry.
No,
Sorry.
that's okay.
No,
It's
you're
one of
totally
the, one of the
good.
hazards of having a great big window in front. And
Oh, I
watching
know.
people
I
go
thought
by.
I
I
have to worry
don't
about
even.
Lisa.
I
I don't
don't
have to worry about you.
I purposely don't even look out there. I just ignore
Yeah.
it's there.
It's a
and-
hazard for a politician setting out on
Well,
the
it's I my ADD is so bad, and I usually know people. I mean, there's been a guy that's walked past 3 times that waved at me because I know him, and
Yeah,
I'm just
nice.
like, I'm
Just
not
a
even
hug?
looking.
Nice.
I'm just a
Nice.
jerk and not even looking. I'm just like, I'm not looking.
Me downtown, so.
You know, hey,
Takes time.
yeah.
Oh man. Well, I can't remember what music just recently I feel like just started getting more of that trend where you have songs that are on public radio that are gay. You know what I mean? Like and I feel like a lot of it started, I think it was Macklemore had teamed up with, and I can't remember her name and it's killing me, but She Keeps Me Warm was basically
Yep.
the original song.
She was here for Girl Pride too. She came
Did she go for
5
Girl
years
Pride?
ago.
That was
5 years
actually-
ago, she was here. Macklemore and Oh, I can't think of her name, and I
can't
met her and
remember what it is
everything.
now. Yeah, I know what song you're talking. That was actually the song at our wedding. That was
Yeah.
our first dance song. So
See, and then I remember hearing that and thinking like, is she gay? Is that like is that like an actual for like a lesbian? Like, you know what I mean? And then I looked it up and like she has multiple songs talking about her being gay, and that and that was like when I thought like, wow, this is really becoming more mainstream.
And then Lizzo now.
yeah.
Wow.
And then Sam Smith.
Oh yeah, exactly. I mean,
Yeah, and I think I just recently, trying to think, saw a couple of country singers that have come out, and they're singing some really
what's his name?
amazing
He just
songs.
won the Country Music Awards.
Is
Little Nas.
Yeah.
Little Nas.
Country? I
Yeah.
thought he's rap.
He won. He's the first LGBTQ to win a country music award. I think. Am I correct?
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
think
I don't
that's
like
something
country
like-
music, so I think that's what I read.
I like some country. I like the old country. I'm a huge Dolly Parton fan. I love Patsy Cline. Oh my God, make me late for work, Patsy Cline. Yeah.
I love it. Well, and what was it? Katie Lang?
Oh, Katie Lang was one of
Yeah.
my early favorites, and that was when I was, in high school and coming out into IYG. listening
Yeah.
to Katie Lang.
And it's funny because I only got into her. I think I was like, so it was probably like 4 or 5 years ago. I'm not gonna pretend I'm old, but like I remember just thinking like that, like that was early for her
Yeah.
to be like out and gay.
Very,
and,
very early.
And I just thought that was so. I didn't know that was possible.
Yeah, it was still not mainstream back then. Katie Lang was just amazingly talented singer, artist, and was still not mainstream. So she was still considered very, still very what I would call alternative. Not alternative music as far as a type, but just alternative as far as not mainstream.
Well,
Yeah.
Melissa Etheridge was out though with music back
She
then.
was.
But she
she
out?
was-
Is she gay?
Oh,
Yeah.
she's very out, very gay. Oh my.
I like
you
the
just
music.
born?
I just don't assume everybody is gay just because I like their
No,
music. I
Melissa-
love Fleetwood Mac too, and I'm pretty sure they're all straight because they have
Melissa-
an album
no,
about
Melissa
Fleetwood Mac.
Etheridge
Etheridge
is-
is like the queen of the gays.
Yeah, she's like the gay icon.
She was gay before gay was a thing.
Yeah, before it was cool.
Before it was cool.
Before it was
yeah.
cool.
So was I,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I followed her
Yeah.
because of her.
Yeah.
That explains.
Oh my! We have to not be partners in this
Yeah, I
show
totally
anymore.
almost fell off the chair.
I know,
'cause
I
when
like-
Melissa Etheridge gay. I'm
I'm
like,
like,
I just didn't look into it for
that's like
myself.
somebody asking if I was gay.
yeah, right.
Okay, but I look at Melissa Etheridge and she doesn't have a mohawk, so I have to ask questions.
Yeah.
Sorry, mullet. Sorry, I keep doing that. It's so tall.
It's a mohawk. It's a mohawk.
So tall.
I love my mullet so much.
That's great.
It brings me so much joy. But yeah, no, we are very blessed to have had you on, and
Yes, we really appreciate
we
you
appreciate
coming.
it so
Oh, yeah,
much.
I've been looking forward to it for some time since we scheduled it. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, and I love that you don't have any plans of stopping now, and going to keep helping our community.
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
know?
As long as people will resonate with the message, and I've tried to have a very populist position on things. I consider myself very, very liberal, very progressive, but I think it's not because of the issues, but just because this is what people want. They want a government that works for them, and I think it resonates with the population. I think it's 79% vote.
Yeah, I think it says a lot.
Yeah, right.
Well,
It does say a
I
lot.
think we are starting to have a government that does represent more of what I feel like a population looks like.
Right, which is important.
Yeah,
Which
it's
is very
100.
important. Yeah,
For sure.
yeah.
Well, Zach, thank you again. I'm sorry, no, I'm not going to interrupt you.
No, not at all. I was just going to say there like I said, there are 3 new ones who are going to join me on the council now.
That's
so
awesome.
we've talked about forming an LGBT caucus on the city
love
council, which
that.
is like
Yeah.
Before, I mean, for 8 years, it's just been a caucus of me.
Right. And I just had my own shirt.
I mean,
so
Right.
it's like, hey,
So-
join the club.
So do you have like a social media platform that they could follow you on, the viewers, to keep up on everything that you're doing, or
Yeah,
no?
I have a city council page, but it's very boring. I don't do anything interesting on there. I just post like when we have meetings or something. These are the things that are on the meeting. You can get to my webpage, and I have links on the resident portal where you can follow. You can watch the meetings on TV, or you can follow the issues that are going to be on the agenda for all the committees, all the hearings, and everything is posted on my webpage. So
Do you post some stuff like that on Instagram, where they could follow you on Instagram
Or
and
is
see some of
Instagram
that
more
stuff, or is
fun?
that more
No.
personal?
well, no, I don't do anything on Instagram. I have an
Okay.
Instagram account mostly because I wanted some recipes that were on the Instagram.
Fair enough.
But, and so like I was saying, the guy that I'm going out with, he is like really into Instagram. He's like, oh, you should do Instagram. So he's like showing me how to use it, and so I've got like 500 followers, and I've got like I had 0 posts until about a month ago. So.
Oh my gosh.
I
Well,
don't-
are you public and people are
Yeah,
able to follow you?
yeah.
Well, what's
What's
your
your-
handle?
He doesn't
I
know.
think it's
no.
just my name. I'm not even sure I could look at it real quick and see
Yeah,
what
do
is.
it.
I have to see.
Yeah, look and see. Look it up for us.
Start to
We'll
check
get
it out
your
and see.
social media so we can get people to
I
follow
don't
you.
even know what that means. So if people follow me, what am I? Do I have to perform? Then I'll have performance anxiety.
Well, the great thing is you decide what you post, so you have time to decide if that's what you want to put out there.
Okay, so how do I find out what
go
my
back.
thing is?
Go back real quick. And
Oh my
your
gosh.
home.
I've
Okay,
never
sorry.
seen anybody ask Lisa how to handle
know.
something on social media
It is.
before,
It's just
and
my
she's
name.
doing it
Zach
well.
Adamson. No, it's
Adamson.
no, it's
Indie Jeep Boy.
that's it.
That's-
Indie Jeep
yeah,
Boy.
Indie Jeep
At
Boy.
At
Indie
Indie
Jeep
Jeep
Boy.
Boy.
At-
That's it.
okay.
Oh my God.
Nobody asked me what.
What?
Would you say you've never seen anybody ask Lisa what?
How to use technology or social
Are
media?
you serious? Who does? Never mind. We won't get
Okay,
into
so
this.
but you see how many followers I have and how many posts I have?
It's kind of not fair, but I think you need to start using that. If I'm
You
being
should probably
100%
use that
honest,
platform.
it's kind of not fair. You need to do something about
Yeah,
that.
you need to get that platform going for you. It'll help.
I did 2 posts. One, the first one was at Grand Masquerade because I thought,
Oh,
well,
yeah.
I'll post something.
Oh,
there.
yeah.
And then I was at a football game or watching a football game at a friend's house, and I said, "Yay, sports!"
Yay,
so, I just thought I'd post those 2 things, and I really didn't know what I was doing. So.
But he'll have a new post today because
being
I'll
on
do
the case of
something.
our
I'll
lives.
he'll
do
have a
something
post of a
yeah,
picture of us.
Yeah. I do have some good photos, so I'll post it on there.
Well, thank you again. We appreciate you
Absolutely,
coming in.
thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
If you guys would like to be on our show, you can contact us on www.laughs.life. There's a contact me page.
Also, you can follow us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram,
Instagram.
Twitter, at the Gates of Our Lives.
Yes. Facebook.
Oh, I do have
Facebook.
Twitter also. I do Twitter.
Oh.
I
Do you?
Twitter.
Do you
See,
tweet?
I'm
I,
bad.
I don't
I
even
do
tweet.
periodically, more than I Instagram.
Yeah.
I did tweet us.
No, Insta was totally
Yeah.
totally
No,
smooth.
that's
you
right.
should have just gone.
Was
Yeah,
that
you
right?
totally
Okay.
just could have gone with
I
it.
see. Tweet and Insta. Okay,
Yeah.
so yeah, I do.
Awesome.
I don't Insta. I do tweet. Not all the time, but I mostly Facebook.
Awesome.
Sounds good.
Look him up on Twitter too, folks.
Yeah,
All right.
which is just my name. Yeah. Very good.
Thank you so
Awesome.
much.
Yeah, totally.
This has been Gaze of Our Lives. Make sure to check out the Gaze online at www.laughs.life.